I'd like to talk today about our Prime Elevation speakers. They've gotten a lot of attention. When we first launched them, we weren't actually expecting as much attention as we got. But maybe it's not that surprising. We're calling them the world's most versatile home theater speaker, which is really cool because when we first began the design process, all we wanted to do was create uncompromised, awesome sounding height effect speakers. We ended up with an incredibly versatile speaker that works phenomenally well for any of the channels possible in a home theater. But before I get into all that versatility, let's discuss the concept of height effects and what that means. The typical home theater creates a soundstage that is in front of you, to the side of you, and behind you, which is really cool. The limitation is all that sound takes place on the same horizontal plane. When Dolby came up with Dolby Atmos and DTS came up with DTS:X, they introduced a new dimension to this, which is surround sound that comes not only from in front of you, to the side of you, and behind you, but also makes you feel like it's coming from above you. This creates an unprecedented 3D experience that really adds the next level of convincing sound to the home theater experience. Now, how do you create that height effects experience? Well, essentially, there are three ways. The first way would be to install in-ceiling speakers in your theater aiming down at the listener. And that would be a true height effect experience in the sense that the sound would be coming from directly above the person. The only issue with that is in-ceiling speakers don't sound as good as full-range cabinet-based speakers. So if you agree with us that a home theater is only as good as its weakest link, then we've just brought down the overall performance of the home theater by inserting in-ceiling speakers in a system that has really great sounding full-range speakers. The second way to create height effects is clever. It involves minimal installation and attempts to create sort of an illusion of height effects. This is what's colloquially called in our industry the ceiling bound solution. Essentially, the speaker is ear level, but it's aiming up at the ceiling and supposedly will bounce the sound down to the listener so they think they're hearing sound coming from above them. The way this is accomplished is through some frequency response limiting in the speaker and a recessed tweeter so that hopefully it'll kind of beam up to the ceiling and beam down. Most of us in the industry are a bit skeptical about how well that works, and it certainly will not work in rooms with odd-shaped walls and ceilings. So it's not a solution that we're in love with at SVS. But we do like the fact that that limits the installation expertise you need in order to enjoy it. One late night I was spending with SVS's designers, we started kicking around fresh ideas to create height effects. And one of our designers, actually our chief designer, Smith Freeman, came up with a simple, elegant, really cool concept, which eventually resulted in our Prime Elevation. Basically, a high-performance speaker with an angled front baffle would allow you to have an easy installation high on a side wall, aiming down at the listener. So we have the ability to create true height effects. We have a relatively easy installation, and Smith actually came up with a phenomenally cool wall bracket solution. Very easy to install, and then you just hang the speaker onto the bracket after it's been installed. So a simple two-step process that most folks would be able to install relatively easily. What's really cool about Prime Elevation is because it is a direct radiating speaker, we don't have to mess with the frequency response or do trickery to create a beaming effect. In fact, we decided to make the highest performance home theater speaker we could. It's full range, it's great sounding, and for that reason, it creates as convincing of height effects as we think is possible. So really cool solution. As we continued to discuss Prime Elevation speakers, and the possibilities contained therein, we realized that because this was a high performance speaker in and of itself and easy to install, we realized that this could do more than just be a height effect speaker. It could actually be a super high performance, very versatile speaker that can work in any of the channels of a home theater. As a height effect, it's high up on a sidewall aiming down at the listener. But it can also be an LCR, left, center, or right speaker in the front of the theater, either above the listening position or below the listening position, aiming down at the listener or aiming up at the listener. It can even be a back surround speaker mounted on a sidewall when there's no room on the back wall for a true back surround speaker. We've basically created a speaker in Prime Elevation that potentially can solve any room issues in any home theater and create that full-on convincing home theater experience in rooms where that previously was not possible.